Yeah, good morning and welcome again to Searching the Heart this morning. Just to quickly follow up on the last edition, which was returning to the moon. Not so that I don't leave anything missing. I think the main theme of that video was the issue of the meaning of life, even though it was titled The Moon, okay? Returning to the moon. And for me, that is my greatest concern, because as much as people of the 21st century, as always with human beings, want to deny it, morality, ethical conduct, the way we live with one another, describes most of what we become, rather than whatever we can make or heights we can achieve. And I'm going to be explaining why in this video. Okay, that is mostly what I do. Okay, so like I have always said, space is just a hobby. It's my hobby. Okay, I love to see human beings do great things. And from beginning, I was a scientist. I studied engineering for a while. Yeah, before I became a pastor. So I'm always interested in these things. Okay, and theology in its makeup is actually all-encompassing. Because when you talk about God, you want to study God. Of course, who is God? God is creator. He is sustainer, okay? So you want to study every other thing that is connected to that, okay? So this is just what it is. And maybe that's one of the reasons that modern human beings don't like theology as a subject, because it removes what I'm going to be talking about today, okay? And the topic for today is the slow tumble into anarchy. Why and how it is happening, okay? The slow tumble into anarchy. Now, human beings by nature are consumption prone, okay? They want the end product. They don't want the process. They don't want to care about the process. They just want to have that end product, that thing they can consume, they can wear, a car they can drive. That is all, okay? And when you understand human beings, you tend to understand why human society is the way it is, okay? And the question is, if we all just depend on the end product, will we ever get anything? And this is the thing. And I believe that scientists should be more concerned about that. And I'm going to be talking about that in this video. But strangely, they are not. They don't seem to. And in my studies, I've discovered that the reason is because they, of course, choose to deny. Somehow, scientists are not extraterrestrials. They're human beings, like every other person. So they have the same weakness. So it's like the popular saying, which Jesus Christ quoted, "Doctor, heal yourself." Okay? There's always that if there's no other doctor, if the doctor is the only one, if he gets sick, who will heal him? He has to do something about it, even though the ethics of the profession say you shouldn't do that, okay? But at the end of the day, based on very mundane principles, you must heal yourself. You must heal yourself. And he was challenged to heal himself, okay? So this is Jesus Christ himself, that is. So this is just the foundation of the problems of human society, which we might want to call the human condition, okay? And over the centuries, we've had beyond the desire to heal oneself. Medicine is known to be one of the oldest sciences and professions. Engineering has come up, okay, as another. Physics itself has come up as another profession. And physics too and engineering has been forced to look into the concept of the human condition, okay, healing the human mind and body. And it has been discovered that most pungently the mind is an issue, okay, the mind is an issue. So we're going to be talking about all these things. The slow tumble into anarchy. Why and how it is happening. Okay? And I've already begun by talking about human nature. Human nature is dependency prone. Wants to enjoy the goodies of life. Cares very little about the process. Okay? And well, we can go on and on about how the Bible has explained this, but I don't want to dwell on that today. I want us to discuss on a day-to-day basis on what we observe in our current society today. Okay? And one of the things that we have observed is that science has put power in ordinary hands. Okay? Remember, science itself has taken thousands and thousands of years to develop. Okay? From, we spent a lot of time talking about the Great Pyramids. And of course, I'm going to be also veering into some new discoveries in Peru, in South America as a whole, okay, and some in Brazil, and all, that are very close to the Egyptian pyramids, okay. For years and years, we've heard that the Egyptian pyramids were created by hardworking people, hauling stone, cutting stone, and hauling stone, while the evidence was saying very differently, okay. It was clear that human beings began to develop on top of an older civilization, okay, and it is clear in Egypt, but it is even more clearer in Peru, and there are even some evidences right into the United States of America that still repeat the same thing, okay. So this is being discovered, and this has been hidden for hundreds of years, okay. So that because human beings were unable to explain the existence of this older civilization, okay. So this impinges, okay, on the integrity of science itself, and that is why we find so many problems with human society, because the very idea of science itself is that it kind of breaks through the barrier, the hindrance against human beings, okay, against our development, and it brings miracles closer to the human being. For thousands of years, human beings depended on miraculous events, okay, prayed to the gods, whatever, repeated incantations, indulge in magic to solve everyday problems. But when science was discovered, it became the new magic, okay. So putting a power in the hands of ordinary people. But most often, just like the use of magic itself, it is like putting a gun in the hand of a raving rover, for instance, okay? What does a raving rover do with a gun? That is just another way to strengthening himself and protecting himself at the expense of every other person. So he can kill and destroy every other thing just as long as he is satisfied. So this is what science tends to become, okay? So we're going to look at it. Why? Why is the human condition, as it were, popularly known, made very popular by some Hollywood movies? This human condition, it is a condition, it seems to be a condition. Humanity is sort of compared with what do you call it, a virus, okay? A virus just consumes and takes over and then renders the whole system redundant, okay? So science has put power in the hands of ordinary people, okay? Actually trying to make life better, improving the human condition, as it were. And well, that is beautiful, that's a beautiful thing. That's what human beings have been trying to achieve for thousands of years, okay? And it has happened through science. Albeit not through the gods, as it were, but through science, okay? So, and this was a discovery, of course, post the ancient times, okay? Of course, it started with the development of the printing industry. Remember, the printing industry also affected the church that was at the helm at that time, okay? And the Bible was made available. The printing industry actually probably caused the Reformation, okay, the revolt. Martin Luther felt, look, this Bible should be in the hands of every other person. While the clergy were keeping the Bible to themselves, Martin Luther felt, no, we need to translate the Bible, we need to print it, or we need to make it available. Okay? So this was what possibly caused the Reformation. A revolution of the time. And of course, the development of the printing industry, the textile industry, all contributed. The development of metals, molding and development of different metals, for transportation and for warfare, now created the modern economy, led to the Industrial Revolution, okay, and to what we have today, okay. So science has put power in ordinary hands, but the problem is that, like magic, it has become a tool of suppression. Like magic, it has become a tool. Just like when the metal was discovered, it has become a tool to govern people and to suppress them. Okay, the end justifies the means. Okay, so because of that character of dependency, okay, that very weakness, human weakness of dependency. So this is the problem that we see. Okay, so in every generation there is a tendency for human society to tumble into anarchy. There is always that tendency. Why? This weakness, dependency, not caring about the process, only interested in the finished product. Okay, so this is a problem. Most human beings are unwilling to accept that with freedom comes responsibility. Okay, with freedom comes responsibility, and this is what religion could not achieve, and this is what freedom and science itself could not achieve. Okay, of course, you know what caused the First and Second World Wars, the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so this is just the issue. Okay, so of course many scientists know this. People like Neil deGrasse Tyson is a popular proponent of this. Okay, so this is what we see happening. So somehow, even after these thousands of years of work and struggling to come out of incapacity, as it were, as a civilization on which most humans actually submitted to slavery just to empower the entire humanity to get to this point. Whole forests were cut down just to create a new civilization for human beings. Okay, these forests were cut down to melt metal, of course, to form siege ramps, to build superstructures, starting from the Egyptian empires to the Babylonian empires, to the Persian empires, to the Greek empires, to the Roman empires, right up to the Industrial Revolution itself. So these were all processes. Human beings came together to create a system that will remove them from poverty and suffering and will make them stable. But at the discovery of this, something happened. Something very, very phenomenal happened. And indeed, it is happening. That old problem, dependency itself, came to the fore again. Okay? And the same human beings who worked together for thousands of years to create this system want to destroy it. Hence the topic today, the slow tumble to anarchy. Why and how it is happening. Okay? And the secret to this why comes from Genesis chapter 6 in the Bible. And in Genesis chapter 6, the Bible says that God, He regretted, okay, that He had made man, okay, because He discovered that the human beings, all that there was in their hearts was sin, was wickedness. all sorts of wickedness. Of course, historically, it is provable that they used to sacrifice their own children, okay, and commit all sorts of atrocities. And he said, from now on, they used to live longer than now, according to the Bible, of course. Well, science has not been able to prove that yet, but the Bible says they used to live longer. So God decided to cut down their ages to a maximum of 120 years. Okay, and this was what happened. Okay, so this was what happened, and he reduced their age to 120 years. Okay, and because of this action, of course, we see a problem. Now, before that event, human beings were few in number, so they were, of course, they needed to live longer, such so as to, dominate the earth and build the world they wanted to live in. Okay, but at this point, they had become a menace. Okay, and so their age, their years were reduced. Okay, to 120 years. Of course, in our own time, most people say, if you get to 70, you've tried. Okay, most people live just about 90. But that was what happened. Okay, so this problem was God's way of solving the human problem, the problem of depravity, of wickedness. Okay, but it caused a new problem. Every new generation that comes in, cannot appreciate, does not have a reason, in fact, to push human civilization forward. There is no reason. Everybody just wants to live, his 70 years or 120 years, and have a good time and go away, okay, or die. Okay, so there is no motivation whatsoever. For instance, let me give an example. Going to space. What is the motivation for me to go to, to walk towards going to Mars, for instance? I'm not going to see it, okay? I'm not going to see it. Well, no matter how hard I try, I may never see it. Even if I see it, I may never really enjoy the benefits, of people going to Mars. And so there's very little motivation, to work towards that. And that is the problem that was discovered after the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so human beings relaxed. Like I pointed out in the last video, after going to the moon, after a few journeys to the moon and back, the difficulty of going to the moon itself became apparent, or exploring space itself. Many people felt we would go to space and find some form of life there. There was no life discovered. And because of that, of course, what was the motivation? So, of course, the funding was cut. That is the reality of the situation, okay? So, because of the lack of longevity, there is no motivation in pursuing any further progress. And this is what happened between the 19th, 20th, and the 20th century, and the 21st century. Most notably, right now, it is happening in the 21st century. It was apparent in the 20th century, and it is reaching a pinnacle in the 21st century. There is no motivation to try harder. We have all we need. Cars, aeroplanes, we can fly anywhere we want to go. We have weapons of warfare, to take over any, if you have the power, you can take over any small country. If you have money, you can take over, do the same. There's technology. So there is no real motivation to go further. And this is the problem that is discovered. This is the reason why there is that slow tumble back into anarchy. Okay? So I've talked about why and how it happens. Okay? So, continuing from there, a few people experience how easy it is to prosper, okay, from the wealth of science. And of course, because they have discovered this, it becomes something to to kind of take advantage of, and of course serve their own selfish aims. It is a natural thing with human beings. That is how it has always been. The discovery of metal, it happened. They came together, formed armies, invaded small communities, took over communities, with all the resources they had, and continues. And that is why war has been a constant part of human civilization. And some people even allude human progress to war. Okay? I find that very erroneous, of course, because there won't be any need for war without prosperity itself. So it is provable that prosperity came before war. But, of course, it is easier to say the other. And of course, strangely, some of these philosophies are coming from the science community, proving my point again that we are all human beings. Okay? So the cycle continues. It continues. Selfishness, dependency. Selfishness, dependency, and it continues and continues like that. Whoever gets the helm of power wants to use it to enjoy the few 70 years he or she has. Doesn't care about anything else. Okay? So this is the human problem. This is what is called the human condition. Now, the problem, though, that the Bible does not really, at first glance, give us any answers to, is that this same thing happened before the reduction of lifespan, according to the Bible, okay? And it's still happening now. So, why? Okay? But there are a few things to note. Now, number one is, before the reduction in lifespan, there was no technology. Okay? So, the reduction of lifespan kind of forced human beings to develop technology. Okay? Now that that technology is developed and they have what they need, they don't need to fight. So, if you notice now, all over the place, especially in a place like America and China, they talk about longevity, okay? Trying to improve, increase the lifespan. Because suddenly, especially among the rich, they discover the need to live longer, okay? So, this is just the thing, okay? So this is the paradox that civilization reveals to us, okay? And so we don't know how is this going to be realized. We don't know. Now I have briefly talked about the possibility of a civilization beneath the human civilization, okay? And it has, of course, the proof is there, especially in Peru, of this technology human beings have never encountered, okay? Building technology. And like I've said before, this kind of technology can be attributed to a civilization that did not really need the earth per se. They probably came to earth, and I heard somebody repeat it in the podcast. I'm going to put the links in the description in a podcast of when this popular alien investigator, his name is going to be written on the screen, okay? He was interviewing somebody, and the guy repeated my suspicions, okay? He said what? The guys came, okay, they took what they wanted, and they buggered off. Simple, okay? They didn't need Earth. Earth wasn't really, and it's also repeated in the alien interview, recorded from from McElroy, okay? Yes, they didn't. Earth is too volatile for them, okay? It's not stable. So they came, took what they wanted, and they buggered off. Simple, okay? So that technology definitely was from a people that did not need any detail. They didn't need to know that F is equals to ma, for instance. Force equals to mass times acceleration. They didn't need that, okay? They had enough of it. They knew how to create things, just for their comfort. They didn't need too much comfort, unlike us. So they probably are the Nephilim that the Bible talks about, okay? So, because their civilization is totally different from human civilization, we need to develop things. We need to think of how the process. That is how we were made. But they don't need that, okay? And their civilization, arguably, is the problem with our civilization. Because we are always looking to have what they had, while we are not made that way. Okay, so this is a problem. So we need to discover, and this is the whole adventure of theology. Okay, theology is trying to discover why. Okay, where are these people, the gods as it were. Okay, and what do they want of us, if there's anything like that, and how, if not, then how can we improve our own society, okay, by understanding theirs. Okay, so this is the thing, because it is always affected ours. That is just the reason. So I'm going to be expanding on this and hopefully rounding up after this. I'm sure many questions are rolling through your minds, and some of you, after watching this, will go and start investigating alien phenomenon. Okay, and I think it is important. And one of the questions I always ask: why are the science community always trying to hide these facts? These are facts, okay? And the reason is obvious, because they can't explain it. It's an said within the science. It's the elephant in the science community, okay? Because you can't explain it, of course, it doesn't exist. Okay, so this is what is happening. Those evidences are there. There is a technology that human beings have never. They attribute some of that technology to the Incas. Okay, but while the scientific evidence clearly shows it is not. Okay, and well, it's Inca in the sense, like my source tried to say, yes, but that means we should consider the story that the Incas came from the gods. Okay, whoever the gods were. Okay, so it is science. I have been trying to point this out for a long time. Okay, instead of hide from the truth, let's investigate the truth, and that is that is theology. That is the science of theology. Okay, science. That is why theology is said to be the queen of the sciences. Okay, we try to investigate. Okay, what is the source of the gods? Who are they? Okay, what do they want from us? Okay, so this is the problem. So this is what is greatly missing in the science community. Okay, because it is obvious that dependency will break the system. Okay, it will break the system. It is introducing anarchy, and it will break the system. Okay, because human beings don't care about the process; they want the end result. That is how the gods are influencing us. Okay, and it is very clear in the 21st century. But science is all about the process. Okay, so that is the problem right now. So so I want to take a moment to talk about scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dr. Dave. He was that popular science channel, always criticizing those who don't believe absolutely in science. And Richard Dawkins, the popular Richard Dawkins. Okay, so these guys, I mean, I tend to sympathize with these guys. Okay, because I'm the science type. Okay, yeah, I'm the science type. I love to see the evidence. I'm a typical human being. Okay, yes, I love the evidence because I know my weakness. Okay, I can't do without the evidence. I want to see the process. Strangely enough, my friends know me very well. That is the reason I couldn't finish my engineering degree. Strangely enough, okay, I want to know the process. Okay, if I don't know the process, I won't believe it. Yeah, I'm not going to. I will want to go through the step-by-step approach. Okay, and the Nigerian education system is kind of quick. Okay, just build quickly and you finish up and you go. Okay, so my fascination with science does not allow me to do that quick thing. Okay, I just want to know how the thing works. And most textbooks, if the lecturer gives me the notes and I know how it happens, I will pass the exam, definitely. But if he refers me to a textbook, I tend to depend on the textbook. And if the textbook is that kind of rush work, of course, it will take me time to understand. And so I changed my major. I dropped engineering, and I went to study theology. Okay, because theology is all about the process. Yeah, it's all about the process. Okay, so this is the thing. It's philosophy. Yeah, and philosophy is all about the process. So this is just the issue. Okay, so I am the science guy. I am the science kind of guy. I love to listen to scientists, and I kind of have a soft spot for them. Okay, but when I see evidences like the one in Peru, forget about the tridactyl beings. That is a little far-fetched for now. It's there, but it's far-fetched. Let's look at just the architecture, okay, in Peru, okay? Some in Egypt also, yeah, and in Peru, okay? How does science explain that? All the science journals and videos I've watched don't really satisfy me, okay? They satisfy me to a point. But after a point, when it's clear that they are hiding some evidence, I kind of get bored, because explain that, okay? Let's say the Incas were able to melt stone. Wow, they would have needed quite an amount of fire to do that. Fuel, I mean. And if they had the chemicals, like one podcaster talked about a paper he read about them being able to mix certain chemicals together. I say, in what quantity would they need such chemicals to melt stone in that quantity? So this is the question, okay? Or to cut stone to such very perfect dimensions, for instance. So this is the problem. Why hide evidence? I want these people to, kind of answer these questions without hiding, okay? Yes, we need to hear more about that. And this will clear some of our minds, okay? So this is the problem. Why, like I said, I sympathize with science. Yes, but I believe that there's so much evidence that there was a civilization before human civilization, okay? And that is just what it is. So denial in science and the academia, which I have experienced, even though I graduated with theology. When I went over to theological school, I graduated with a second class upper in theology, okay, missions and evangelism, okay, but still I experienced the same thing. There's a problem in the academia, okay, that if something doesn't fit a particular mold, it is pushed, it is thrown away or ignored at best, okay. So this is the problem with the academia that is not helping. That is why we cannot take your side and say, okay, yes, you are strictly the solution to human problems. It's not just there. It has failed us many times. Okay, having that perspective. So this is the problem that we see. So I'll round up by telling us, for the scientists and the skeptics about science, of course, because science is a skeptical philosophy. Why am I saying what I'm saying? Because of what the anarchists are doing, okay? What the anarchists are doing. And what do the anarchists do? They love the finished product. They love to take the finished product. They don't do your science, for one, okay, yeah. And they take the finished product. They pick the results of science, which is the gun, of course. Yeah, they go about killing, taking over civilization, and just using it for selfish aims, okay? Get drunk, have parties, enjoy the goodies of life. So this is what the anarchists are doing, okay? And that's why we're asking the science community. And to a very large extent, the Christian community, okay? Because when you discover again things like the Plowshare Project, you know that Christians are hard at work, okay? They are hard at work doing things, trying to fix civilization. But it seems the anarchists have a way of taking over and destroying that, okay? So, they are really doing some things. And what is science solution to that? Good. What is Christianity's solution to that? Because we find the same kind of attitude in the Christian faith and the same attitude with the scientists, the atheists, as it were. People like Dawkins, people like deGrasse Tyson, people like Dr. Dave, okay? You got to do something about that. Explain that. So we must try to explain why science seems to be a tool of magic. You know, quick results, no process, yeah. Why? Okay, we need to explain that. So, now one of the areas we see this happening is the appeal, through the appeal to authority, or the appeal to, which is most recently seen in the appeal to AI. Well, AI is a result of science, very painstaking science, okay, that has become literally an art, okay, and it is producing a lot of results, okay. But the same people now use the results of science and say, okay, this is now the reason why we don't believe your science. So this is the problem. This is what dependency creates, and the anarchies create. Like, I was just watching a video about the moon denial is happening again, okay, afresh, okay. So they're denying that the astronauts are in space. It has been happening, okay. So now I have these are the truths, okay. They appeal to science itself to debunk science, because we're in that generation. They are tired. They want to just enjoy the benefits of science, yes, and just stop there, okay. Return to anarchy, okay. So this is the problem, okay. Let me take a few minutes to try to explain what video is, okay. We depend a lot on video because at the time video was discovered, TV was discovered, it was the height of the industrial revolution, as it were, okay. Technology, and it was great to see, to be able to relive your memories. It's just a wonderful thing to record your memories so accurately, so lifelike, and nobody cared whether it was real or not. But I would like to argue the case that it was never real. Just like this paper is not real. It's not me. I just put my thoughts on paper, okay? When I write a book, it's not really me. It's just my thoughts on paper. It doesn't really represent me, okay? So the video has never been a real representation of a real event, okay? It is actually made up. It has never been real, okay? So alluding to AI is like coming late to the whole thing, okay? It has never been real. It's just a couple of slides put together, okay? Pictures taken, wonderful creation. The picture, the camera, okay? It takes a picture, is able to take a lifelike picture, okay? Like somebody drawing somebody exactly the way the person is. It does that through science. Wonderful. And then the slides are put together and that becomes a video. It is an invention. Technology has always been an invention of human beings, okay? It has never been proof in itself. No, it has never been that. It still depends on the human being to prove it right or wrong. And that is why we are scientists, okay? That is why we are scientists. And that is why doubt is good. And that is the basis of science. Doubt is good. When you doubt something, you are forced to check it using scientific principles, and then you come out with a result. Will there always be the results you want? No. Okay, that is what science is. Okay? Sometimes it might not even give you any result. And that is why we keep on working harder to improve our methods, okay? And then we get better results, okay? So this is just what it's all about. And the natural human being lazy, does not want to go through that process, okay? It wants to just enjoy the benefit of the end result of whatever work there is. That's why we love religion so much. That's why we love magic, okay? And we don't want to really go through the process, which is science, okay? And that's why the end result of science is always what we want and not the process. Like I told you, I am one that, love the process, and that is why I couldn't really become an engineer, because I love the process. Why is the world like that? Why does it kill the engineers, the real scientists, and elevate those who are not? I don't know. Let me not make any claims that people will call me up on. But it seems to be true, okay? The system rewards the quick. Look at what are the industries globally that tend to make a lot of money? You can name them. Entertainment. Wow. So how am I answering your question? Sometimes media, okay. Yeah, quick results. Military, yes. Good, because the gun is just there. Let's shoot it up. So this is just the thing, you know. But the scientists really struggle to make money, and only a few of them, like Elon Musk, maybe Bezos, Bill Gates, get it to be at the top, you know. So the people who depend on the finished product tend to make it quicker than the people who do the process. Okay, so it is the nature of things, and if we want to solve human society, we need to look at this. Better pay for scientists, better pay for the workers that do the real work, even though they might just be artisans. Better pay, okay? More uniformity in pay, okay? Yes, though the smarter guys will always make more money, okay? But it is the result of life, okay? But when we get to pay the hardworking people, from the scientists to the artisans, we tend to bring a little more parity to the system. Now that is just one solution, okay? So this is the issue, okay? So governance is a very important issue here in human society, okay? So before I round up, I'm going to be going back to look at that issue again from the foundation.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with two insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
Like I said, it's happening all over the world, but like in Nigeria here, you know, anytime if a particular profession is very lucrative, everybody, they rush into that profession. Everybody goes there. It's lucrative, so we get into that. Okay. I remember the year I went into. I became an engineering student. It was said that, that was the highest number of engineering students they had ever had in that school for that year. Somehow, people tend to rush into the profession, that seems to be the lucrative one, okay? At that year, it was the computers had come into Nigeria years before that, about 5 years before that, okay? And, there was a boom in the electronics industry, okay? Computers were the next thing, okay? So everybody, they had the highest number of students that year, okay? So people want where there's prosperity. Right now it's in medicine, okay? Everybody wants to be in medicine because computers have kind of run their course, right? So everybody wants to go to medicine. And what does that lead to? Reduction in standards, okay? Reduction in standards, okay? And in that whole scenario, in that bloody scenario, everybody, there's so much competition. Some people get left behind, okay? So this is what happens, okay? The desire of human beings to benefit from the finished product is a problem with civilization, okay? It's causing a lot of problems globally, okay? So we need to go back to encouraging, like some people like Neil deGrasse and his compatriots are doing, encouraging science here. It's wonderful, okay? But we need to do more than that. We need to go to the politicians, and we need to insist that they do the same thing, okay? Because we find that, especially here in Nigeria, the problem is with the politicians. It's easier to, when you have the money, you can do the campaign, you can bribe your way through, and you can get into places of power, okay? But You want to stay there, and that urging to stay there, supersedes every other thing. But we need to get into that and tell them, look, we need more science. We need more people educated in the sciences rather than in other arts. Okay. And in the place of government, you need to be the wise person who says, okay, even though I'm going to pay you more as a scientist, I'm not going to neglect the artisans who do the building, who do the welding, who do, all the small menial jobs, the cleaning. I'm not going to neglect them either. So when we have such leaders in the place of governance, things will become better. Okay? So this is just what it is. And this is what the Bible is all about. Creating such leaders. Okay? Creating such leaders. Leaders who have wisdom and have empathy. Okay? A leader who is able to mix both wisdom and empathy and add to it hard work is able to create a system that works. Okay? And is able to improve human civilization. Such leaders in the Bible were leaders like Moses, leaders like Joseph, leaders like Solomon, leaders like David, his father. Okay? And it goes on and on and on. Okay? So when you have such leaders, they might not be the scientists themselves, but they have the character that is based on science. Okay, it's based on truth. They are able to fix the system. Okay, and that is where truth comes in science. Science does not hide truth. Okay, it destroys the very foundation of science. It may delay the revelation of truth. Yeah, so to get some things fixed up. Yeah, but you never do that eternally. Okay, science rewards the results of hard work, and that is the foundation of science. And without that, you lose human society. Okay, it is causing some of this slow degradation into anarchy. And I pray that our scientists will look again into the educational sector and try to fix that. And David Dunji, thank you for you in searching that.